Skid Row Radio. You're listening to radio station WSKID.
Bro, you just can't get enough of me, can you? You have to keep mentioning me in your videos whenever you want to try and make a point and make yourself seem superior in your argumentation. I seem to be a regular conduit for you to do that. You got me blocked as well, so that's bad form. That's fine, you can block me, whatever, but if you're going to block me, just, probably best not to keep mentioning me. That's just bad form. But, so you did, and you said that you've not heard anyone, apart from me, make the argument that that the US should cut all of its military budget, that it should just slash the whole thing. Well, I'd like it if you could cite somewhere that I've said that, either in video or in comments, anywhere, just once, I'd like that. Otherwise, it's just a lie. So that's ridiculous. And you also linked to a conversation that we had on a John Paul Dawn video, which I'm glad you did, because in that conversation, we can clearly see where you're coming from, because it became clear in that comment exchange that once you've knocked down all the bullshit humanitarian rationale for these invasions, this imperialism that you support, with caveats, you do give caveats to some of them, the obvious ones, the ones that are undeniable now, things like the Iraq War being based on bollocks and that kind of thing. This is primary school concessions. It really doesn't count for much. Your overall position is one of supporting this American expansionism and American exceptionalism, rather, which you openly admit you do support, and I guess you feel that if you're honest about these things, then that gives you some kind of pass. That's okay. Well, you support these positions, but at least you're honest about it. Occasionally, you will come out and state clearly, yes, I support American exceptionalism. And just because you're honest about it doesn't make it right. It's not a correct position to hold, and it's responsible for a lot of the world's major problems, this American exceptionalism and, imperialism. Dirty words, I know. But, so once we have cracked down these humanitarian arguments, this bullshit rationale that is given forth for things like Libya, and to fight terrorism, the Afghan invasion, you can't beat terrorism, you can't beat an idea. More than that, you can't crack down on a movement that is created by those very actions of invading foreign countries for strategic purposes of your own, and not to help the people there. That's not what's happening. Let's throw that one aside. That's not what this video is about. This video is about I'm going to try and address what I have problems with in terms of your argument as to why the military budget is not the big problem. Now, okay, yes, I'm not going to argue in this video that that huge cuts in military spending would solve all the world's problems. Yeah, we're talking about America specifically, you were, and I guess that's the main issue really, because the American economy is the most influential around the world, and what happens with the American economy affects the entire planet. So yeah, you don't like me talking about America, but that's where the action is in terms of affecting the world economy and this kind of thing, and generating this culture of fear and all that jazz, all that good stuff. So we're going to talk about America. Sorry if you don't like that. You do get quite nationalistic about it. Let's try and forget that. Let's try and talk about the issues without, ascribing ourselves these arbitrary positions of associating with the actions of the governments in any given country. But yeah, moving on. So the argument that you were really putting forward in your video was that we have to start looking at cutting entitlements, cutting benefits. And we have to do that. This, chopping away at the military budget is not going to do it alone. Well, there's one major problem with that, Rob. There's a very big difference between those two uses of money. Most of the vast majority of this money is generated from where? From the people. Yeah, that's right, from taxes, from the worth generated by citizens of America, in this case. So the big difference there is that with the entitlements, with benefits, you're taking the money generated by the people and spending it on the people. They're basically paying into a pension, or these kind of funds. They're paying for themselves, okay? Yeah? This money generated by the people and taxed and generated like that is then spent again on the people. Whereas with the military money, it's not the same thing, is it now? The money doesn't go back to the people. The money goes to military industrial complex and all these kind of organizations that that produce the ballistics and the weapons of war, these weapons of mass destruction, and that kind of thing, yeah, all good stuff. So they're out of that $750 billion war chest this year, and it's been raising every year since the Iraq invasions. It's almost double what it was at the start of the invasions now. So yeah, for Obama and for you to be arguing that, well, they are asking for cuts, they are recommending cuts and redistribution of the military budget into other areas such as aid, foreign aid, this kind of thing. Well, shit, yeah, they're going to have to be spending money on foreign aid because we caused the fucking problems in the first place that you're then going to spend money on fixing. You did link yourself recently to an article on Twitter that told about waste in the military budget. I know you acknowledge this, that's fine, it's only the tip of the iceberg though, really, isn't it? Because that article talked about the waste of about 40 billion, I think it was, off the top of my head, in just misspent funds, but it's only the tip of the iceberg, of course. And the 750 military budget this year, again, is not telling the full story, because on top of that, you've also got, of course, future veteran costs, future, ironically, benefits and welfare packages for veterans, and yeah, the cleanup operations and the aid that is needed to rebuild the countries that we devastate. So there's all that goes into it as well. And of course, recently we've heard that there is billions of dollars that is making its way into the hands of the Taliban, just through certain ways. For example, paying off certain people that they work with, and the money just getting around, basically getting into the hands of the enemy. Genius. So there's lots of problems associated with where the money goes. We don't quite know where some of it goes, and where some of it goes, it is again paying to clean up our messes that we've made. So yeah, you can't really argue that that's some kind of commendable action there. Damn right, you clean up your own fucking spilt milk. Yeah, so not quite the same as entitlements, where the people's money is then getting spent on the people. In the military budgets and defence budgets case, it's the people's money largely getting spent on the military organisations, the military industrial complex, and going to your Halliburtons, your Lockheed Martins, your weapons developers, and the lobby, the entities that are behind the lobbying power that promote and basically force through these invasions. The corporate power behind the political decisions to go and do that. These are the people that are benefiting from that expenditure in the defence budget, and it's disgusting, Rob. I mean, your position is disgusting to me. So I mentioned before that, yeah, even after your humanitarian justifications for these invasions has been hacked to pieces and you've got nothing left to argue on those points, you will still justify them on the basis of, as in the comment section that you linked to, that we talked about on John Paul Don's video, from a perspective of saying, well, we need to do these invasions because otherwise the oil prices would be sky high. And it would be the little people of America that would be hurt by that if oil prices suddenly went through the roof. So we have to do these invasions to secure affordable oil prices. Well, that's bullshit, isn't it, Rob? Because what's happened to oil prices since the invasions? Oh yeah, they've skyrocketed. So, I mean, estimates put it that if there had not been the wars over the last 10 years or so, that it might have evened out at about $40 to $50 a barrel. It's currently around 130. From before the start of the invasions, before 2001, it was around the $25-30 mark. So yes, you have been reduced to the bare underlying rationale for all of these military actions that of procuring, the ability to control the oil production in that area. So you're honest about that, you come out and admit it. And if you're then going to go on to argue, well, no, I meant long term, surely, of course, the price is going to go up whilst there's this confusion and this activity there, but it's for the long term benefit. So the prices will eventually level out and we're back to the low prices that we enjoyed before all of these military actions. But that's bullshit, because even if they were to start going down again, the point is that money would then be generated for the US oil producing companies. Okay, the Western companies that want to go in and control that oil production. So those are the people that are going to be making the money on that oil. It's for them, it's not for the people. It's for the companies that want to control the oil fields. And it's no coincidence, is it, that the precursor to both of the major invasions over the last 20 years has been plans to nationalise oil fields. In Iraq, we've seen that in Iraq, I think twice even. We've also seen that with Libya. And you'd say to this, oh, but why do we need to? They were already selling to us. Yes, they were already selling to us. but those oil fields weren't being controlled by the US companies, and that is the motivation for them. Those are the lobbying forces behind the invasions, as well as the military-industrial complex that works in tandem with the energy-producing companies. As we've seen, they're all major funders of NATO. It's a whole different video though. Your video was just talking about the US kind of interests and economy and stuff, and that's the NATO thing is a whole another ball game. Very similar, but yeah, leave that for another video. So it's about generating revenue for those companies, and yeah, any profits made, any reduction in prices, any control of prices, that's going to benefit the company. The companies, not the people. So it's a bullshit argument. So yes, these Middle Eastern plans to nationalise oil fields and to, how dare they plan to actually use those profits to build their own countries up? How dare they even consider such a thing? So that's the story that you don't tell. I mean, you're very good with facts and figures. You like to kind of confuse your audience, and you put your structure, your arguments together very, impeccably. You have lots of statistics and references, but it's what you leave out, Rob, that is most telling. It's the context that you leave out that betrays your bullshit imperialist posturing, and that's what it is. So yeah, you leave out the context of the plans to nationalise oil, and you're not stupid, so I know you're not misinformed, so you're basically lying about the context. And yes, leaving out vital factors is the same as lying, Rob. Of course, some of the arguments that you make to kind of justify this huge military spending is true, factual, but it doesn't make it any less despicable. One of the arguments you'll say is that if we slashed the defence budget, or the offence budget, come on, let's be honest about it, drastically, then that would have a bad knock-on effect for the economy, the worldwide economy. Well, the wars themselves have had a devastating economy. Again, the raising in oil prices affects pretty much fucking everything, and it's a big factor as to why the world economy is so fucked at the moment. But yeah, if you slashed absolutely loads off the defence or the offence budget, yeah, it would be bad for the economy, because you've got into the situation now where they have built so much of the economy on that structure that, yeah, I mean, it would be devastating, because you've got 900, US alone has got over 900 bases around the world. I mean, that's just insane. Again, the simple answer to that is just ask yourself, Rob, how would you feel if every country with military aspirations had bases all around America? And you could extrapolate again, what if other countries took it upon themselves to come and liberate the American people when they were being oppressed in this increasingly kind of totalitarian kind of police state that's developing there, and lots of other human rights issues, Guantanamo Bay, torture, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, would you like that if all these other countries took it upon themselves to use humanitarian rationale for just bombing the crap out of America to save the people there? You wouldn't like that at all. Of course not. But yeah, 900 military bases around the world, that's a lot of staff. That's a lot of people's work, depending on the military budget, a lot of families depending on that budget. And it goes on, of course, it spreads, exponentially. I mean, it's not just soldiers, of course, the offence budget also accounts for the NSA, which is just inflated beyond all reason, the CIA, bases all around the world, fingers in every pies. Yeah, it would be devastating for the economy. You worked into this position, but you need to zoom out in your analysis, I think, because when you make that argument, whilst it may be true, it's kind of stunted, it's kind of blinkered. You need to zoom out a bit and realise that that is a problem, that we've come to this position where we are so reliant on, a large part of the economy is so reliant on that money, and the knock-on effect of where that money goes. Whilst you do make some honest concessions to the underlying motivations behind this imperialism, you haven't completely abandoned the humanitarian fluffy clouds rationale, because you did say that there'll be the problems that would be created throughout the world if America did not have this ridiculously massive military presence around the world. They're doing such great things. They're keeping countries safe. They're maintaining balances of power in certain regions, you said. Yeah, they might be trying to maintain balances of power, but to what end? For whose benefit? For their own benefit. That's right. They're not interested in the peoples of each country. I mean, 1.5 million dead as a result of all of these, invasions in the Middle East. The blind eyes turned to regimes that had been friendly to our needs, and the propping up of just as despicable dictatorships, worse ones actually than the ones that we've gone after. Saudi Arabia, do we need to go on? We ignored Rwanda. You know your history. I don't need to school you on that shit. In fact, you know a lot more about that kind of stuff than me. You're a scholar of it, which is why it's so fucking embarrassing that this is the position you'll take. So yeah, you like to blind your audience with facts and figures and you'll shut them out like that, but it is what you leave out that is most telling, Rob. Because whilst I agree with you that the need to tax the rich and corporations more is probably more of a priority, would make more of a difference in the long run. There's estimates being put forward recently that if they were returned to 1961 levels of tax for the highest bracket, that we would make huge strides in sorting out this debt problem. Corporations and the super rich have been able to gain more and more power, and I just the amount of tax that they pay and the bailouts that they've received and the benefits and this, it's probably more damaging to the world economy than the military budget of the United States of America. But you cannot argue, and this is where I'll differ from your rationale, is that you can't argue that it won't make any difference, that it won't solve any problems. You like stats, let me give you some stats, okay? So last year, about 750 billion on the offense budget, yeah. 33 billion aid overseas, so there's kind of tuppences there. Really. It would take 21 billion to save the Amazon rainforest. 21 billion. So you say it wouldn't make any difference if you slashed away at the military budget, a 750 military budget, twice what it was at the start of the invasions. So yeah, these concessions from yourself and Obama saying, "Oh, well, no, we've asked for cuts, we've suggested cuts." Well, actually, Obama's asked for more. He hasn't been given as much as he wanted, so that's bollocks. But you've said, let's cut a little bit here and there, shave the edges off. But yeah, let's shave a few edges off. Let's solve some problems that you don't seem to think would be possible. So yeah, 21 billion to save the Amazon rainforests. 112 billion is the total of Africa's debt to the West, so not just America but to the West. 112 billion. Again, peanuts on the scale of things when you think about 1.5 trillion spent by the US in the Middle Eastern invasions since 2002. Yeah, so you make some pretty despicable bullshit kind of arguments for why military budget needs to be as big as it is, or thereabouts, and how it would benefit the people, and this kind of thing, and it's all bullshit, and I've explained that pretty adequately. But I'm just going to read for you a couple of passages from a great paper that I've found on the internet, and that paper itself links to its sources, so you can go and see that to check that it's all kosher. It says, since the start of the war, the US has been pushing for the legislation of a new Iraqi oil law under which the Iraqi oil industry would be privatised, thus paving the way for awarding the lion's share in any future production sharing contracts to US oil companies. The law will transform Iraq's oil industry from a nationalised model, all but closed off to US oil companies, to a commercialised model that is then all but fully privatised and open to US control. Under pressure from the US occupation, the Iraqi cabinet passed on the 26th of February 2007 a new national hydrocarbon law, which is yet to be approved by the Iraqi parliament at the time of writing this paper. Under the proposed draft laws, 63 of Iraq's 80 known oil fields would be open to foreign multinationals, which in this case would be American oil companies, given the American occupation of Iraq, whilst granting the Iraqi National Oil Company control of just 17 of the fields. So, yeah, crazy. And it's been estimated that up to 65% of the rises in oil prices over the last 7 or 8 years has been as a result of these invasions and the chaos caused and the takeovers and all the troubles caused. 63% is estimated of the rise in oil prices has been down to this meddling in the Middle East. So yeah, your argument that we have to do these wars, otherwise oil prices would skyrocket. It would be the little person that suffers. Bollocks. Who suffers is the US oil giants that want to control that production. Again, from this paper, which is well worth a read, it says that the cost of the war to the US economy and the global economy is staggering. Over the period from 2003 to 2008, the extra expenditure on US oil imports resulting from price differences alone amounted to 1.55 trillion. However, by adding all the macroeconomic costs to the oil costs, the figure jumps to 6.5 trillion. Estimated cost of cost of the world economy of the raising oil prices and that kind of thing. So yeah, go and look at that paper for more in-depth analysis. So that's all for this video, really. Not going into too much detail, just a brief outline of various reasons why FederalistFilms is full of shit on this stuff. Although he makes a good job of seeming like he's being fair on the issue. he's really not. So yeah, speak to you later. Bye bye.